Before I quit my corporate job, I thought the hardest thing would be making money. I was wrong. The real challenges have been losing my identity, fighting loneliness, and trying to be an accountant, a CEO, an editor, a creator, all at once. It's been over a year since I left my marketing director role in tech, which is crazy to say, but I thought today we could talk about the 7 things that I wish I had known before I actually made the leap and quit my job. So come spend a typical workday with me as we chat about what being an entrepreneur actually is like. I was reorganizing my bookshelf this weekend because I was in a bit of a purging, organizing sort of mood, as I usually get into when it comes to like the new season. So I did a little bit of Notion reorg, I did some goal setting, and then I shifted around my books. So I have a few more books here to put away. One thing that I wish people talked more about is how you're going to go through a bit of an identity crisis when you quit your job, and that it's okay to go through that crisis. Even though I was feeling very inspired, very motivated to do something for myself and to build a business on my own, I didn't realize how much of my identity, my self-worth, my stability was tied to my job. It then transferred over to the success of my business. So I started to feel like I wasn't a great person or I was a failure if I wasn't running this very successful business, which saying out loud feels crazy because your value as a human isn't just the job that you do, but that's how it felt. And that's kind of why I dove so hard into work when I had first quit my job, because I felt like if I didn't make something out of it, if I had left behind the stability and didn't succeed, it would make me a failure. What I wish I knew was that that feeling can be temporary as long as I work towards a bit of a mindset shift, because you're not just your job title. You're not just your role. You're not just, you that is climbing the corporate ladder or climbing the entrepreneur ladder. You as a human are so much more than that. It's your skills. It's the impact that you make in the world. It's the relationships that you have. It's your hobbies. It's everything else that makes you you. There's a few things that I need to get done today. One is some editing for a video that I'm working on for a tech client. Another is actually filming for Kinship, my community-based business. My co-founder is actually on vacation right now, but she sent in her clips of a project that we wanted to film together. It's like a content series. So I need to film my portion and then also kind of just put the editing together for both of our videos. And I do actually want to explore and play around with app building today, because it's something that I've been just sort of like testing out for myself. I hear all about vibe coding, and I found an app that I really, really enjoy. So we'll talk about that in a bit. I'm actually gonna put a little timer on right now and do a little bit of writing. I typically like to start my days with writing because it just helps me get some of the thoughts that I have in my head out. Another lesson that I honestly needed a good reminder of is that you should be making time for learning and growing as a part of your actual job. When you're working corporate or a 9-to-5, training days are included in your work. And even once you pass your probation period and that initial training period, you still get so many more like company-led opportunities to learn and grow. Whether they are workshops, whether they're your coworkers showing you how to do something or your manager showing you how to do something. As an entrepreneur, nobody is going to tell you what you need to learn, what you need to know. Like, you need to figure all of that out on your own, and you need to prioritize learning. Otherwise, you will end up falling behind. The more you learn, the more opportunities you will create for yourself, and the more you'll be able to grow your business, grow yourself, grow your team, grow your skill set. It's up to you to push all of that forward, and how you do it is to continue to learn what is going on in the world. I think because I came from a tech background, I always still have like a toe in tech. I'm, reading about all the different AI advances, all the changes, what's going on with that. And now vibe coding is this massive thing that a lot of people are experimenting with. And it really does feel like a great new addition, a new tool to being an entrepreneur. I personally tested out quite a few different tools for this. The best one that I have found so far is Mocha. Having worked in tech for so long, I've seen firsthand just how much it takes to build an app, from hiring developers to designing the app to taking weeks and weeks to just iterate even the MVP of the app, spending a ton of money on subscriptions just to host the app and test the app and design the app. But now we have AI app builders like Mocha that really turn that app building process on its head, because now all you have to do is describe your idea, let Mocha handle the rest, and then you can deploy. I've been drumming up this idea of an app for quite a few years now. It's just something that I have personally wanted for myself and never found a good option for. It's an app that allows you to find different cafes in different cities that you visit, and each cafe will have a profile telling you, does it have strong Wi-Fi? Does it have good coffee? Does it have ample seating? Does it have wall plugs? I actually spent some time yesterday just building out the prompt for this idea. So I wrote, build an app called Cafe Finder that helps people discover cafes for remote work, reading, or socializing. Each cafe should automatically pull data from Google Maps or Google Places API, so name, address, hours, phone, and the website, and have a community section where users can check into the cafe that they visit, leave reviews with a star rating, photo, and short comment, and answer quick questions about Wi-Fi strength, noise level, number of plugs, laptop policy, seating availability, and pet friendliness. So we're gonna put that prompt into Mocha and see what it gives us. If you have no idea what you want to build yet and you just kind of want to play around, they do give you some inspiration for you to choose from. So I would just pick like the closest app that you are trying to build to, and then use that as inspiration. They give you templates as well as some prompting best practices for you to use. So I'm gonna go ahead and hit enter and then just let Mocha do its thing. Something else that I've noticed from other app builders is that they don't handle authentication and login well. And that's something that Mocha actually specifically wanted to solve for, was to make that process as easy as possible. So if you are creating a web app that requires some sort of a login, they will default to a Google sign-in, but then you can also request to just have like a simple email and password login, and Mocha will actually build that into the app for you. Okay, so here is what Mocha has given me. I've already signed in, so you can see there's going to be check-ins, saved lists, and then when you go onto the home page, you'll be able to pull up the map. And if you want to make changes, it's super easy to do that because you can just prompt them in the chat as well. As you type prompts into the chat, Mocha will start to work them into your app, and you'll be able to see it live update, which I think is very, very cool. Mocha does also have a discuss mode, which allows you to talk to chat without actually making any of the edits. So if you have some ideas that you're trying to work through, or if you're trying to figure out if something is possible, the discuss mode is great for that. If you're creating an app that requires a database, so for example, it needs to be able to track the cafes and the users, Mocha is really great for that as well. And if you go into the data tab, it'll actually show you all of the tables and databases that it's created for your app. So for mine, there are users, cafes, check-ins, reviews, save lists, etc. And then if you do have any sort of development knowledge, or you just want to see the code is available on the code tab as well, and you can actually edit it from this tab. I think app building and vibe coding is definitely something that I want to spend more time learning about and getting practice on, even if it's just building silly apps that I personally want to use. I just feel like it's a really valuable thing for me to learn as an entrepreneur. So having a tool like Mocha under my belt feels like such a game changer. If you have an idea that you want to execute, or you've just always wanted to try building an app, I would highly recommend giving Mocha a try. It really is such a cool process watching it build the app that you have in mind. So I'll have it linked in the description box below. The third lesson that I've learned as I have been growing as an entrepreneur is that my 9-to-5 taught me more than I thought. I actually talked about this in my last video about how you don't need to quit your job to start building something. And a big point that I was trying to make in that video is that you really do learn a lot in your 9-to-5. My 9-to-5 was really the biggest investor. Ooh, dropped a mushroom. As I was saying, my 9-to-5 is actually, or has been, the biggest investor into my life as an entrepreneur and my skills as an entrepreneur and pretty much everything that I do as an entrepreneur. If I actually think about all of the skills that I've picked up from my 9 to 5, it's quite a lot, like project management, client communication, time management, people management, analytics, like all of those things are skills that I use every single day as an entrepreneur. I do wish that people had talked about this more, because that was a big fear of mine as I was entering entrepreneurship and leaving my corporate job, is that feeling of being a beginner again. And while yes, I do love being a beginner again, because it means that I am like opening my mind up to all this learning and all this growth, it was still just a very terrifying experience. So this lesson to me really just felt like more of a validation thing of knowing that you're not wasting time by working your corporate job. It's not going to, deter you from becoming a great entrepreneur. In fact, it's actually, again, the investor into your entrepreneurial life. It ties into the identity piece as well, because I think a lot of us, when we become entrepreneurs, we try to run away from our corporate identity, but instead of running away and trying to separate yourself from that identity, lean into it as your differentiator. I've been really enjoying making omelets lately. However, this is the only pan that I have, and it is far too big to make an omelet with. So my omelets don't always turn out. Actually, they rarely turn out as a perfect omelet. They always kind of end up as like an egg stir fry type thing, but it's okay. The key here is that we are making something delicious with whole foods and veggies and protein. And oh my God, that just sounds so good right now. Like I am starving. Okay, here is my lunch. I know it looks kind of not good, but I swear it tastes very delicious. I've been using my tocha sauces on this as well, specifically the verde one. I have been trying to make sure that I'm eating away from my desk. I don't have a dining table, so I always just kind of sit and eat here. Otherwise, I'm eating at my desk, but I know that if I eat at my desk, I'm not giving myself enough of a break in between to sort of refresh my brain, especially if I'm sort of like switching from project to project or task to task. I need to give myself that mental space to actually process everything that I've done and sort of switch to the new mode that I need to be in for the next task. So lunch is always a great reset for me, and by having it away from my desk, it really does feel like more of a reset than if I were just to eat while I work. Something else that I feel like people just don't talk enough about is how lonely it is to work as an entrepreneur. And I mentioned earlier, I do miss that team aspect of working a 9 to 5 a lot. There's no more team lunches. There's no more Slack banter. There's no more corporate drama that you get to watch from afar with your popcorn. Now, as somebody who, for the majority of the time, works alone, I can go days without human contact. And even when I am talking to people, I'm fully remote. So I'm talking to my team that's spread across Canada, like my management team. I'm talking to contractors from all across the world, but nobody is really talking to me full time the way that a coworker from a full-time role would. I read a stat somewhere before that says that loneliness is actually a big reason why a lot of people quit their business or quit being an entrepreneur. It's not an easy thing to deal with. So what I wish I was told was to proactively build community and make friends before I even left my 9 to 5. I'm gonna finish eating so that I am fueled for the filming that I need to do after this. And I'm actually just gonna listen to my audiobook while I do this. I'm currently listening to The Dutch House by Anne Patchett. I'm on chapter 6 right now, and I'm absolutely loving it.
To the house or everywhere. I recognize that trapped against the house by 2 women from the Altar Society.
Okay, I need to get to filming. I've actually been doing more filming with my DJI Osmo Pocket 3 lately. There was a while where I definitely fell off using this camera because it wasn't giving me the quality that I wanted. But I think that was probably mostly a user thing. I mean, the quality obviously isn't as good as my mirrorless or even my Canon PowerShot V1. Like, there is going to be a bit of a quality difference because this is a tiny, tiny little sensor. However, I think that this camera is a lot more powerful than I give it credit for. And since I already have it, since I invested in this tool, I am trying to make the most out of it so that I am getting that bang for my buck. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead, film these videos, and then we'll get to editing. My Premiere Pro keeps crashing and it's driving me insane. I'm gonna take it as I need to take a break and maybe just let my computer breathe. Like, I don't know what's going on right now. But while my computer rests and before I head out for my walk, I thought I would talk about the 6th lesson, which is your work-life boundary is about to get very, very blurry, especially if you don't fight for it to be clear. This especially applies for anyone who is an entrepreneur, freelancer, creator who works full-time at home, because I don't know about you, but I don't live in a huge apartment, and so my workspace is right here. Like, I can kick my toe out and touch my couch because my workspace continues into my living room. And whether or not you're a content creator, a lot of entrepreneurs have to play that creator role these days because they have to work in public. They have to show the behind the scenes. And when your office is your home and your home is your office and your life is your content and your work is your content, and then for content creators, your hobbies become your content, where does that line appear? In this world where content is king, it's really easy to default to being always on. Creative burnout is so real, whether you are in a digital field, a creator field, whether you are working with mediums like paint or doing things by hand. Either way, when your creativity becomes your work and your work seeps into your life in these creation moments, it's going to burn you out. So what I wish I knew before I jumped headfirst into my current lifestyle business is to have set these boundaries, like hard, strict boundaries from the get-go, where I should be using no phone, what areas of my home should be used for what times I should be creating versus living. True days off. I've only just started to take true weekend days off again, and yeah, it's just a lot of things that I never really thought about because I was more than happy to dive into work and more than happy to throw myself at this new amazing project that is running a business, but I burned myself out again and again and again and again. And I think this year is when I'm finally just admitting to myself that I can't do it all and that these boundaries are actually what allows me to produce more and do better and be more creative and actually feel good about doing it. My raincoat has been the best investment I've made in a really long time. I can't believe I lived so long in Vancouver without a raincoat. Like, I would just use an umbrella, which honestly is so not the vibe. I also wish I knew that you'll become a generalist before you become a specialist, and that's fine. I used to beat myself up a lot about not being a specialist, like not really honing in and getting really good at one thing. Even as a marketer, because I worked in this small, scrappy team, I was a marketing generalist for pretty much the majority of my career. And then when you become an entrepreneur, you're quite literally wearing all the hats at first. You are the accountant, you're the CEO, you're the creator, you're the marketer, you're the salesperson, you're the email marketer. You just have to fulfill every single role. But on the bright side of that, it really teaches you to be adaptable. It teaches you a lot of new skills and fast because you have to learn them. I think it was the book E-Myth Revisited that I had read that teaches you to actually like write out this business org chart, your ideal business org chart, and write down all the roles that you may need to have a successful business. So for example, your sales team, your marketing marketing team, your BD team, your CEO, your COO, your CTO, your CFO, like every single role that you can imagine your business when it gets to that point where you feel like, wow, this is a successful, like booming business. And it asks you to write your name under every single role that you put down, as well as create a contract for yourself, telling yourself what needs to go into these roles. And your goal as a single entrepreneur who's trying to build let's say a bigger business, is you want to start from the bottom and start hiring and removing yourself from those roles. So you'll start from like the coordinator, specialist level of roles. Once you hire for those roles, then you move up and now you're in the manager roles. The purpose of this is for you to one day ideally get to the very top where you're not in the weeds anymore and you're just sitting as the board, or maybe you're sitting as the CEO, or maybe you're sitting as the COO. I wish somebody had told me that that is a good thing and that that's what's going to give you the experience that you need, whether you want to move back into corporate, whether you want to start a new business, whether you want to grow this business, and to actually just embrace that jack of all trades, generalist role, so you can really use it to learn and grow as a human and grow your experience, instead of worrying about how maybe you're not going to be able to do it all, or oh no, I'm not a specialist at anything. Like, just enjoy it and just learn and just be in this period of growth. We're gonna go brave the rain, and then I'll let you know about the last lesson when I'm back. Good morning. I had the best dinner with my older sister last night. We went to Locanda dell'Orso, which is this really cute little Italian spot in downtown Vancouver. We always just end up chatting for a prolonged period of time, so I got home quite late last night. I do need to finish up that edit that I was working on yesterday. I'm pretty much done. I just have a few final touches that I need to add to it, so that's kind of the plan for my morning. But I'm gonna make myself a coffee first because I got this amazing new coffee machine and I'm pretty stoked about it. While we make coffee, I want to talk about the 7th lesson, which is that failure becomes feedback, and that you're going to fail a lot, and also that it's okay. My favorite thing about this coffee machine is that it has a built-in scale both under the portafilter and under the grinder. Like, it's so cool. One of my favorite sayings that you hear a lot when you work in tech that I brought into my everyday life and that I've talked about on this channel quite a few times is the idea of failing forward, of failing fast. It comes from, actually, I don't know if it straight up comes from tech, but in tech, it's kind of referring to the way that you're supposed to iterate, right? You have your MVP, your minimum viable product, and then as you build on that product, you have to iterate. You get feedback, maybe there are bugs that you have to crush, and you keep working, aka you're just failing forward, because the MVP is, it's supposed to be the most basic version of whatever you're building, because once you have that foundation, you're able to make mistakes and get feedback and continue to work on a product and grow a product into whatever the idea of it that you had in the beginning was. When you are a creator, when you work in the creative field, when you run a business, things are gonna flop. Videos are gonna flop, clients are gonna ghost, products that you make aren't going to sell. Like, you're going to fail more in 1 year of being an entrepreneur than you're gonna fail in like 5 years of corporate. I think this is just something important to remember and realize as you think about starting a business or as you're building your first business, that the failure is inevitable and that it's actually a good thing, because failure is the number one thing that stops people from starting something. It's that fear of failure. We all have it. Nobody likes to be bad at something. So I think when you learn to reframe failure as more of a stepping stone and an opportunity, and as this genuinely positive thing that's going to give you the lessons and the feedback that you need to continue to improve whatever you're doing, it becomes a lot less daunting, and it becomes something that you're almost craving in a way. So that is probably one of my favorite lessons that I took from my tech corporate life to my life right now, is that idea of fail fast, fail forward, like aim for failure so that you're aiming for growth. It makes me incredibly happy that my last video about why you don't need to quit your corporate job in order to start something resonated with so many of you. So I hope this video was a nice kind of like follow up to that video. And if you haven't seen that video yet, I'll put it up above in the cards, as well as in the description box below. I hope this video found you at the right time, and I hope it gave you either a little bit of inspiration or maybe a little bit of peace around how you've been feeling and how you've been thinking. But other than that, I hope you're having an amazing day wherever you are in the world, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!